All right. Hi, all. My name is Sarah Dallas, and I'm with the Southern Adirondack Library System, and I'm here with my colleague, Jack Scott. I'm going to do a 15-minute presentation, and I have to apologize. There's a medical emergency, and I need to leave exactly at 6:15. So the purpose of today's meeting is to explain the appointment of trustees to the Rockwell Falls Public Library. Next slide, please. I first want to begin by thanking everybody in this room for braving the weather and showing up either remotely or at the library itself. I believe everyone in this room, both the virtual and physical room, has the same goal: to get the library reopened as quickly as possible to provide the high quality library services all members of the community deserve. I'd also like to do a special thank you to Josh Jacquard and Jason Hall for both facilitating the meeting and as volunteers being the trustees of the current library. And I'd also like to thank you, Claire, for helping facilitate this and keeping the library moving behind the scenes. Next slide, please. This meeting will be recorded in its entirety and posted on the Rockwell Falls Public Library website for people to be able to refer to. Jack will stay on and he will continue recording the meeting. My presentation will also be recorded and posted on the SAL's website. It'll last 15 minutes, and all of these slides will be made available on the Rockwell Falls Public Library website and the SAL's website. Remote attendees can submit questions via the Q&A function. And people in attendance, please give your questions to Rockwell Falls Public Library representative. If the questions can't be answered tonight, they will be answered very, very shortly. Next slide, please. There's also a way to submit questions via an email address called rfpltrustee@sals.edu. All questions will be added to a frequently asked questions document, and that can be found on the SAL's website, and it will be updated as often as possible. All questions will be listed on that website, on that document page, but only ones that pertain to this process will be answered. Next slide, please. Okay, why are we here? Well, first of all, we all care about the library, but the Rockwell Falls Public Library by law must have 5 trustees. In the New York State General Construction Law, Section 41, no action can be approved by the board of a public library without a majority of the whole. So for the Rockwell Falls Public Library, there needs to be 5 trustees. A minimum of 3 trustees are needed to form a quorum to conduct the business of the library, and that includes hiring staff and paying the bills, or most of the bills. The library currently has 2 trustees and lacks what is called a majority of the whole. Because of this, the New York State Board of Regents will appoint 3 trustees. And the Southern Adirondack Library System was asked to solicit candidates and submit the names to the New York State Education Department. Next slide, please. Okay, a little more background. The Rockwell Falls Public Library is a school district public library that was chartered by the Regents of the University of the State of New York in May of 2020. A charter is important because it gives the library a corporate existence. The powers and duties of all library boards are defined in New York State Education Law, Section 226. I can put a link to that, or you can look it up. And what it really does, this New York State Education Law 226, it defines the rules of conduct for the board, like the quorum, hiring, and it goes into a great, it's about a page long, but it details important powers, including the ability to hold and control property and to hire staff. The library is also registered with the Education Department, and it must demonstrate compliance with Education Department regulations, Title 8, New York Codes, Rules and Regulations of the New York Commissioner, which is Section 90.2, and that's minimum standards. A public library must maintain its registration in order to receive local and state public funding. Next slide, please. So because the SALS was asked to solicit names from the community, an online form was created to solicit volunteers. Everyone is encouraged to submit your applications online. There's going to be a link, and it'll be on the SALS website, as well as the Rockwell Falls Public Library website. We're asking for 3 more pieces of information: a resume, basically some of your past experience, a letter of interest. Why do you want to serve on the board of the Rockwell Falls Public Library? And for 2 references, name and email only, please. Next page. I want to share a little bit about what is entailed in becoming a trustee. The first thing is to develop and approve the mission of the Rockwell Falls Public Library, to plan and evaluate the library's services and programs based upon community needs, selecting, hiring, and evaluating the library manager, securing adequate funding to provide the services, and being a fiduciary. There's a large fiduciary responsibility because the library receives public funds. The trustee also helps to adopt policies and rules for governance. Another trustee responsibility is to maintain the library building to meet community needs. Another responsibility is to advocate for the library in the Rockwell Falls Public Library District and in society. And it also conducts the business of the library openly and ethically in compliance with all New York State and federal laws, regulations, and has to have respect for the institution, staff, and public. Next slide, please. What happens next? Every applicant will be considered. The only people who will not be considered if the person lives outside of the Hadley-Luzerne Central School District or is under 18 years of age. They will be disqualified. A SALS staff member who is not involved in the review process at all will redact all names and addresses. SALS staff will review all redacted applications using a rubric and rate each applicant on how the questions in the application are submitted. The highest scoring applicants' names will then be forwarded to the New York State Education Department. That is that's the only responsibility SALS has. Next slide, please. Apologies that it's such a quick turnaround, but I believe we are all in agreement. We want to get the library open as quickly as possible. And so the application process opens after this meeting. It'll go live. Completed applications are due by the end of day 4:30 on December 4th. The top ranked applicant names will be forwarded to the New York State Education Department no later than December 8th. The New York State Board of Regents will appoint the library trustees. And I just wanted to share when the regents are meeting, December 11th and 12th, and then in January 8th and 9th, 2004. Next slide, please. The review process, what is being looked at? A library board, according to the New York State Trustee Handbook, has some suggestions and considerations, and they include location in the district to reflect all of the towns in the school district, a range of ages, knowledge or special skills to fill in any gaps in the current board expertise, people with a strong community and library vision, and if possible, represent the ethnic, racial, and cultural diversity of the community. Next slide, please. Questions can be sent to rfpltrustee@sals.edu. We encourage everybody to check the frequently asked questions document. And for information about the New York State Education Department Board of Regents, the link is there. Further details about the Handbook for Library Trustees of New York State, the link is there. The New York State Library also has a page with trustee resources. And most importantly, to look at the statement on the governance role of a trustee or a board member put out by the Board of Regents and the Education Department. Next slide, please. So that ends the presentation, and we thought we would show you the job description. The application, Jack? Is it possible to make this a little bit bigger? Okay. The Rockwell Falls Public Library is seeking candidates who are interested in the future of this library and who will bring demonstrated leadership and expertise to help the library flourish. Any questions about this process not answered in the FAQ may be emailed to that address that I shared before. All of the questions were taken from information found in the New York State Handbook for Library Trustees. That's online, and you can take a look at it. We are encouraging everybody to answer all of the questions, but if a question is not applicable, you can answer NA. The first question is, are you a resident of the Hadley-Luzerne Central District and over 18 years of age? This is the only question that, if it's not yes, the application will be disqualified. Why are you interested in serving as a trustee? Have you had any board experience on the library board or other not-for-profit boards before? And please be specific. It could be Girl Scouts, it could be parent teacher, it could be anything. We want to know if people have, or it'd be helpful to know if people had previous board experience. What is your involvement with the Rockwell Falls Public Library? How are you using the current, well, when the library is open, how did you use the library? We are very concerned that the board is a representation, represents the entire community, and the school district touches upon the Hadley town, town of Luzerne, town of Day, and town of Stony Creek. We'd like to know a little bit more about you and how do you describe yourself as a community member. We would also be interested to know, and I shouldn't say we, the Board of Regents would be interested to know what experience you have. And it doesn't have to be a professional job. It could be when you were on a board or working with a community group. So that's that. Since a great deal of the library trustee responsibility is fiduciary, we would like to know, the Regents would like to know, what experience do you have with budgeting, investing, and fundraising? We'd like to know how you would handle a conflict. And if you've not experienced one, just answer NA. Please, we're asking you to complete the sentence. Besides being closed, the biggest challenge facing the Rockwell Falls Public Library is. We would like to know if you have any experience in advocating for public libraries. We would also, I keep on saying we, the Board of Regents would like to know what is your opinion on the role and importance of public libraries? We just like to know, again, I apologize. The Regents would like to know if you are related to anyone employed by the Rockwell Falls Public Library. And then we are asking for 2 references, just the name, email, and phone number. A cover letter is encouraged and your resume is encouraged. It doesn't have to be a large resume, but it needs to be helping us as we evaluate the application to move it forward to the New York State Education Department. It's 6:17. I apologize. I do have a situation that I have to deal with. Please keep on sending the applications through, and I hope this presentation was somewhat helpful in explaining the process. I assure you, we being the Southern Adirondack Library System, the New York State Education Department, and the Board of Regents wants to help get this library open as soon as possible. And we appreciate everyone's assistance in making this happen. Thank you so very much.